Alright, we think there are two main clashes in this debate. Where do we get more girls in STEM on the short term and on the long term, and where will girls flourish more in these aspects? We think most of the teams here miss the second and more important clash, but we think we still win the first clash on the long term, meaning that if you get a few more girls now, we think in the future less girls will get there in comparative to what could have happened if you just let things naturally go as they might. Alright, so let's start. I will start with direct rebuttal to CG, and then move on to tell you what we bring from OO and how this answers all of OG's points. Okay, so first of all, they tell you they won't lower standards because of prestige. First of all, bullshit. Universities have lower standards for different, like, for Olim Khadashim, you have lower standards. For people with like less levels in economic levels, they have lower standards. For Arabs, sometimes they have lower standards depending on faculty, so on, so on. So universities are willing to do that. Now, look, all of the other things that they tell you universities will do, they already do that. Like, Technion sends thousands of Facebook ads to everyone to get people to know. And we tell you in addition that the problem is not there. The problem is in much earlier stages of life. It's like that. Why do you think targeting girls will change anything? Do you think girls don't know about STEM now? Do you think girls don't know that they can get the most money out of STEM? Obviously, they already know that. So that's not the problem. It's not like they're not aware as much. We think that girls do know that, and they choose not to do it because of, as both governments agree, social norms. Social norms do not simply change in university, which is why we think it's too late at this stage in life. Then they talked to us about how you, CG talks about how you are an elite and feel special and so on. First of all, no, you compare yourself to your surroundings. If you're in an elite program, but you see you're less successful than all of the boys around you in that program, you still feel terrible. And second of all, like, even if you are there and you need a tutor to help you all the time, you won't feel as special. Alright, as to high school is not important. Look, of course high school is important, which is why programs like math in Technion or physics or STEM in Technion and other universities require you to have 5 points in physics. And even if you don't take that, the Mechina talks about physics and math and so on, because the kind of thinking that requires you to succeed in STEM is the kind of thinking you have in those fields. Alright, let's talk now about what OG brings you. Look, most of your mechanism already happens in universities. Like talking about programs for girls, She Codes, which is like the coding thing for girls, takes place in every university. Universities funded, university give it place. There is a great shift in the awareness of how important it is to bring good women in STEM. Most high-tech companies do a lot of funding for young girls to bring them to STEM in schools because they realize that this is where things will matter. So also, Weizmann gives a lot of money for women in universities to go and talk to girls in schools because they know that this is where the shift in what girls want will take place, and not when you're trying to register to a university. They tell us, but they sends a message. Do you think that when women go to sign up, decide what subject they want, they just check what percentages of girls does each faculty have? What kind of message are you talking about? No, girls know STEM is the best. That's not the problem. The problem is that they don't want to go there, even though we are trying to encourage them. So we think the only possible thing for universities to do, to get more girls is lower standards, and this is what Nadav explains to you in his speech. This is the first thing we have. They tell you they will lower standards. We explain to you why this is their only option and why they will definitely lower standards and not other things. OO also talks to us about how girls will be will be not as good, they won't succeed as much, but we actually explain to you why they won't succeed as much. First of all, because they're already lowering standards, and second of all, because how their insecurity will definitely affect the way they learn, and so on and so on. OO brings you this idea of I will feel less good about myself, but we tell you why this feeling less good about myself, first of all, will definitely be there, and second of all, will definitely affect their success in universities. Okay, now let's talk about what OG brings us. So, first of all, again, all of their reasons for why women don't go now are social. Even their dogma of young girls get to play with this and young boys get to play with that. Right, so change what young girls and young boys play with and don't just tell, right, and that's too late in universities. Okay, so, and they tell you about how this won't be solved, and these are manly fields. First of all, we now see a shift. Every year in Technion, more and more girls are in computer science, more and more girls are in math, meaning that there is already a shift. Nadav, is it Khetsi? Yes.
Okay,
Nadav
great.
Shani.
Okay, great. If there's already a shift, it means that right now they do not need to lower standards. All we are doing is that we are helping more women to try and get as well if they have things that prevent them from doing so.
Okay, so if there's already a shift and we don't need to lower standards, then we don't need your entire mechanism, everything's good. Now, if we need your mechanism, we explain to you why the only possible thing that your mechanism does is lower the standards. And now I will explain to you why it's so terrible for it to lower standards. We think that women succeeding everywhere is based on the most pioneering women who paved the way for all other women. We think that when you have like 5 great women in STEM and they give you all the potential and send you a message in engagement with CG that women can succeed and women can be CEOs and women can be in the top, this is where you get more women wanting to do this and more men accepting to hire women, which is also what Nadav tells you. However, if we have a lot of women either failing or not succeeding as much, and on average much less successful than men, then this will send a message that you're so much against, that women are less successful, that women cannot do as much. And first of all, the men surround them will less hire women, and second of all, girls will see that their potential in succeeding in these things are less, which means that the most important thing is how of these women succeed and not necessarily how much women are there, which is why we think we definitely win this debate, and please oppose this motion for the sake of all girls and stuff.